holistic songwriting.
What is the most damaging belief to artists, producers, and songwriters trying to make a living in the music industry today? If you are unhappy in the music industry, this video is for you. I want you to come out of this with a positive spin and an inspired eye towards the future. I want creators to make better art, and that's what this video is ultimately about.
'Cause you are undone button. Why didn't I notice you then? Let's get loose.
I want to say up first, I don't claim to be massively successful with my music because frankly, getting my music out there has not been my focus for the past 10 years. I'm a teacher first and foremost, but I have helped artists do it. I've talked to marketers, I've studied and analyzed the business, and I talked to my students at Holistic Songwriting Academy, so I know the issues and I believe I have some answers. Now, there are a lot of unhappy musicians out there. They're bitter because they've never made it with their music. They're angry at the state of pop music. They're unsatisfied by the work, and they struggle every day to get their music out there. Now, I can't solve all of these problems in a 50-minute video, but what I can do is address one massive false belief that's hiding behind all of this, a misconception that a lot of creatives believe. If you believe this myth, your mindset is actively working against you. Here's the line I hear almost every day in some shape or form. I want to be successful with my music, so I write commercial music. In this video, I want to look at this statement from all angles and show you why it's flawed. Because bad mindsets are the #1 thing getting between you and your goals. First, what even is commercial music? When I ask this question to our artists, here's what they say. Commercial music is music that everyone will enjoy, that has mass appeal. It has simple melodies and chords, repetitive structure, strong grooves, and a modern sound, which usually means synths, autotune, hard compression, and sampled drums. You know the sound because you just need to turn on the radio to hear it. It's the music that plays over the credits when you go see a movie. It's what's blasted over tiny speakers when you're shopping for clothes, and it's what you hear when you're on hold calling your insurance company because you accidentally backed over your neighbor's noisy dog. Commercial music is hip, cool, and stylish. It's what teenage girls listen to when they're dancing, singing under the shower, or lecturing each other on veganism and who's the hottest member of BTS. It's made by dreamy people with rich parents and eyebrow notches, or people with increasingly outrageous haircuts driving cars they can't afford. When it comes to the radio, commercial music is also unobtrusive. Radio channels or playlist curators want their music to sound homogeneous, because if you listen to one of their songs, they don't want to scare you away with the next one. Their safest bet to keep you listening is giving you more of the same. This has led to songs on the charts sounding more and more alike. It's not that listeners don't like to hear new ideas or that music creators have run out of ideas to write about. It's simply a logical consequence of finely tuned algorithms calling the shots. But that doesn't mean that music has gotten worse. There's probably never been a better time to be a music lover. There's more great music out there than there ever was, and you can find it if you only look for it, which of course, most people don't do. They hang around channels they know they like that cater to a monosyllabic taste. And of course, algorithms picked up on that. And so commercial music aims to imitate. A common tool of music creators today is the A/B track, where while you're still working on a song, you compare it to something on the charts to make sure you sound similar enough that your song won't stand out in a playlist. This technique began its history in the later stages of music creation, so mastering, and it slowly moved its way forward first into mixing, then production, then sound, and now songwriting. This means that commercial writers don't write music and then think about how to make it sound more like the charts. They start with the charts, use a song that has already commercially proven itself as direct inspiration, and then copy the style, sound, production, mix, and master. It's simply the easiest way to get into a playlist or a film soundtrack. Make your songs easy to categorize by sounding exactly like the other songs in that genre. So after this definition, let's move on to our second question. Do you want to make commercial music? Does the above definition sound appealing to you? Do you want to become a clone warrior, constantly scanning the charts for trends? Do you want to spend your days recycling other people's ideas for a quick buck? Making music takes time. What you hear on the charts was written months, if not years ago. The writers and producers you're imitating are already on to the next thing. So you have to create music quickly if you want to jump the trend wagon. The quicker you can produce, the more proficient you are at copying others, the better you'll do. But is that something you want to do? Live in the shadow of whoever is popular right now? And if you're leaning back with a glass of wine right now, enjoying my rant on commercial writers, don't get too comfortable. You're doing it too. You probably have a favorite artist whom you're copying when you write music. Maybe not someone who's in the charts today, but someone from your teenage years, when your personal tastes first formed. I see this all the time, writers who are trying to be the next Prince or Coldplay or Eminem, or if they're younger, The Weeknd or Doja Cat. I myself wrote an entire album in the sound of Deftones and Korn. And hey, there's nothing wrong with copying others when you're starting out. It's how we learn. But learning from our mentors shouldn't be like climbing a rope to eventually get to where they are. It should be like a rubber band that catapults us beyond to a new place. If someone has a choice to listen to either Doja Cat or your project, let's call it Copycat, even if Copycat is really good, it'll never be Doja Cat. Like every artist, Doja Cat has a unique history of early musical influences. She grew up in a specific culture and environment, making specific relationships that have shaped her into who she is today. She's more than the sound of her synthesizers. So you can copy her all you like, but you'll never copy the person, the story, the humanity. And that's a huge part of why we fall in love with one artist over another. There's a tough question at the center of this video that I want you to spend some time answering. When somebody listens to your music, are they really hearing you? Or do you have a Doja Cat song, a Weeknd song, and an Ed Sheeran song? If I only hear your copycat versions of other artists, how will I know what you stand for? The more you copy, the blurrier my image of you becomes, to a point where you become just another, more or less artificial intelligence pumping out content based on averages. And in 2024, it's worth thinking about this. If all you're doing is copying other artists, you're not just competing with those artists anymore. You're now competing with the artificial intelligence. Because that's what it does. It cobbles together the data it has on these artists and turns that into something new. If all you're doing is copy, you are no better than a machine. I think it makes sense to differentiate two kinds of music. Music that is heard passively, as in while you're doing something else, the dishes, your taxes, or your husband, and music that is heard actively, as in you focus on what you're hearing. You listen to the lyrics, you notice when a new instrument comes in, and you let that sweet, sweet harmony trickle down your neck like a slow egg yolk. Now, which occasion would you rather write for? Let's look at our next question. Does commercial music even work? Can you be successful with your average copycat project? Well, it depends on your definition of success. If your goal is getting on the radio or into the charts to get your 60 seconds of fame, then yes, making commercial music works. It will take a long time, and it won't be every year, but if you work hard, you might get a hit or two. The downside is that your music will probably be played in the background or as part of a massive reel of similar songs. And because it can't stand out too much, it's less likely to become a classic or an evergreen. It's less likely to become someone's favorite song, and it's less likely to make a difference in people's lives. And it won't build you a lasting fan base, because on average, people who only listen to the charts and the radio don't follow artists. They're not the fan type. They're listening at work, in the car, or at the gym. They don't listen to albums. They're not interested in artists. They only want a groove that will get them through the day. These are not the people that will drive 100 miles to one of your shows, who wait for you in the rain and who keep refreshing your website on release day. They are not the people that will buy your merch or subscribe to your Patreon. They're not the people that will put food in your mouth. And this brings us to an important fork in the road. Do you go mainstream or indie? Do you want to reach millions of people who don't really care, or a few thousand people who love you? It seems counterintuitive, but the indie route may be the easier path to making a living. Think about it like this. If you want to make $100K a year through streaming, you will need 34 million streams. And that number will only go up with AI. That's a lot of streams. Even if you call all of your friends and tell them to listen to your song, that's only 2 streams. And that's including the 2 times you listened to make sure the audio was okay. Much easier to get 1,000 true fans who love everything you do and who want to buy your stuff to pay you $100 a year. 1,000 true fans times $100 is $100,000. This is an idea by Kevin Kelly. His essay is worth checking out. Link is in the description. Look at how the biggest artists in the world have moved up in the ranks. The Weeknd, Drake, Taylor Swift, Doja Cat, Ariana Grande, Ed Sheeran, Billie Eilish, Adele, Eminem. When they started out, they weren't doing what was popular. They may be mainstream now, but back in the day, they were hardcore niche. It just so happened that their niche lent itself to expansion. They were spearheading new movements in pop music. So your goal is not to write music for everyone. It's to write music for a select few, for your perfect audience. And you get to decide who that audience is. You get to determine who you want to talk to after your shows and in your live chats. You get to determine who's part of your crowd and who isn't. And suddenly, the rules are flipped. You can't write average. If everyone likes it, nobody will love it. And a product for everyone is a product for no one. You can't fit in. Music that fits in doesn't stand out. And in the beginning, standing out is the single most important thing your music needs to do. A 5-year-old could explain that to you. If you want people to notice you, make stuff that is noticeable. You can't be a copycat. If you sound like Taylor Swift, do me a favor, just call your album For When There's No Taylor Swift or Low Budget Swift, because that's how people will look at you. Because let's talk budget for a second. If you are a Taylor Swift clone with a twist, let's say you call yourself Sailor Twist, and you're trying to get your music out there, here's the bottom line. No matter how much you've saved in your piggy bank, you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot compete with Taylor. Her marketing team will eat you for breakfast. They'll grind you up and sprinkle you over their organic matcha made from virgin blood and orphans' tears. However good your marketing is, you cannot compete with your idols. So don't look at them to figure out what works. They've already exhausted their market. They can afford to buy billboards and posters and TV ads. They can afford to post lame stuff on social media. You don't want any of that. All of these are a terrible investment of your time and money. This is a good rule in general. Don't copy the big players. They already have a fan base and distribution and an entire department in charge of what their next outrageous haircut should be. If you take away just one thing from this video, it's this. If you want to build a movement, your goal is not to show your music to as many people as possible. It's to find your unique audience and to make them happy. And you do that by doing something you can already do, by making great music. Build your fan base by giving your listeners what they want. Content. Become a content creator, an artist, someone who dares to experiment, someone who pushes the boundaries and is willing to offend. The more divisive your music, the easier you'll have it weeding out the people who are not a good match and to find the people that are. Of course, that doesn't mean you don't need merch or marketing or distribution or a system to engage with your fans. You do. That's what will turn your hobby into a business. But at its core, the business is very simple. You trade something they want, awesome music, for money. Wait a minute, you say. I thought there was no money in selling music anymore. Well, I don't know if that's true. I've heard of people who sold 10,000 albums a year busking. People still buy CDs, vinyls, and cassette tapes, or the adjacent band shirt, hoodie, and poster. They want to support their favorite artist. To a fan, it doesn't matter that they don't have a cassette player. They can listen to the music on Spotify. They want to support you and have a physical object they can put on their shrine next to the voodoo doll with your face on it. But they'll only support you if you're not some corporate copycat bullshit wannabe. So give them something to support. Build a relationship through your music. Share your flaws. Talk about your life. Be naked on stage. Show them who you really are. Stop hiding behind other artists' images. Write music that makes you nervous. If you're playing it safe, you're dead.
Dead.
If you're looking left and right for validation, you're dead.
Dead.
If you're not willing to share something that you'd rather keep a secret, you're dead.
Double dead.
We love artists who make us feel like we're having a conversation with them through the lyrics while the music provides the underscore. If there's just one thing your songs must deliver, it's this. And you can put this on a post-it and put it where you can see it. Personal experiences. Personal experiences. You want somebody to listen to your song and have a personal experience. You want them to feel special, like they're the only one who understands you. Stop writing simple melodies and banal lyrics everyone can understand. Write to create a personal experience. Now, let's talk about the core of it all, the big problem, the reason why you wanted to be more commercial in the first place. Money. Is there money in commercial music? Obviously, you will have to make a living. Obviously, making music and maintaining your Pac-Man machine addiction is expensive. It's no fun explaining to your parents that your music can't support you and maybe a future family someday. But here's the thing. Do you want to give up everything, your taste, your authenticity, your integrity, your joy, to make a living? The reason you wanted to become a musician was to express yourself, to escape the corporate ladder, to be free. So now you're saying you have to get all serious and do the opposite if you want to survive? That doesn't make sense. You're ruining your own dream. I just had a conversation with a buddy of mine who's part of a writing team, and he said they spend 95% of their time on administration and only 5% on writing. I mean, at some point, you have to question whether you're actually an artist or just a glorified checker of to-do lists, a productivity machine, a self-optimization bro with inbox zero and exactly the same amount of released songs. As I see it, you have three options. Number one, make music your hobby. Perfectly valid. You can make a great living with a part-time job and write music just because it's the most fun you can legally have. Option two, you become a slave to the system, a number in the algorithm. You watch the charts for trends, you hustle every day, writing hundreds of songs a year, analyzing hit after hit in order to copy what they're doing, watering down their creativity in an ocean of other copycat writers until there's none left. You have short-lived successes, and for a short while, people even want to take selfies with you until your name is replaced on the billboards and you're just that guy who had a small hit in 2004 with a Maroon 5 ripoff called She Will Be Gloved. You're not proud of your songs, you're not enjoying the process, you're only worried about paying the bills and replicating that success you had back in 2004. And option three, you do it your way. You write the music you want to write. You become a pro at telling your unique story. You build systems that will make you money in the long term, and you accept that it's going to take time. It will take a while to build a fan base. It will take a while until you create merch that's awesome enough that your fan base will buy it. It will take a while until you write songs that are actually good, that speak to people. And maybe most importantly, it will take a while until you are ready. Because when you leave the mainstream, you have to build your own path, and there are no signs you can follow. And you will struggle, and you will fail, and it will be hard. Sometimes you won't know whether you even like what you've made, and you will doubt yourself and wonder why nobody's coming to your shows. It will take you a lot of humility, introspection, and learning to get there. But the effort will be worth it. Genius doesn't go unnoticed. Leaders find followers. Now, I think this is the message talented artists should hear. I don't want to hear any more average, designed by committee copycat BS. I want people with talent to explore, to push themselves, and to find a unique, authentic sound. So if you can show this video to a friend who may be struggling with this, maybe that could be your good deed for the day. Let's get the word out there so we can make this movement of good music and authenticity grow. And if you have a little time, answer the following question. If you didn't have to worry about that commercial sound, how do you think your music would change? If creating music wasn't about imitating sounds, but about communicating with another person, how does that affect the way you write and think about your songs? Let me know in the comments. This is one of those topics you can't possibly overthink. So spend some time. Underneath all of your fears and responsibilities, what do you want to do? What tribe could you lead? And who do you want to be in it? I'm Friedemann Findeisen for Holistic Songwriting Academy. Stay fabulous.
Bye.